Saturday Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is presented by the following. Copeland Automotive Group. Go to countoncopeland.com. Sparks Hockey and the finest at-home skate sharpener you can buy. sparkshockey.com. Tresca Italian Restaurant in Boston's historic North End. Tresca is located at 233 Hanover Street. Sunset Lake CBD. Now through April 22nd. Use the code 420 and get 30% off everything site-wide. And Fazenda Coffee Roasters. Use the code PLAYOFFS at checkout at fazendacoffee.com. You buy one bag of coffee and get the second at 30% off using the code PLAYOFFS.
This is Saturday Morning Brew with Billy Jaffe and Andrew Razor Raycroft. Saturday Morning Brew on WEEI is brought to you by Apex Entertainment in Marlboro with 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Now, here's Jaffe and Razor on WEEI.
I don't know if you ever feel this way this time of year, but I will fully admit that I do. Driving in on a very nice morning. Yesterday was spectacular, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome into Saturday Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, by the way. But I don't ever get like FOMO with regard to. Yeah, but I actually, I'm going to contradict myself. I kind of do this. I see everybody running because everybody's getting ready for marathon, right? They're finishing it off, and I'm like, that kind of looks like, I wish I was a runner, like. I don't say it looks like fun ever, but, I'm like, you go out and run 45 minutes to an hour. Now, these people doing 2 hours, but you're done. You're done for the day. And it's easy. You don't have to go anywhere, do anything, put any gear on. And then I remember that they're preparing for what is a miserable experience for the life of me. I don't know if you ever had to do it in training camp. We had to do it at Michigan, but not a marathon. It felt like a marathon, 5-mile run to finish. We used to have to run the stadium. I think I've told you, we used to have to run the football stadium. That was always an interesting day. Interesting in a not great way. Challenging, but different and crazy. But then we'd have to run the 5-mile run. And that was about my max. I don't know about you. So my point is I come in, I'm like, I love Boston this time of year. I see all the people running. The weather's getting great. It's close to playoff hockey, and we're going to dive into that real quick here. But then I'm like, ooh, look at all these people running. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all.
The marathon is
it's awesome.
Fascinating to me. It is, because it is not fun in any way. Like, I feel so bad.
How many people do you know run it?
You always get a couple people
a
year. Right, like I don't have any steady marathon guys.
Neither do I.
Every year they
one.
do it. I don't know a yearly guy. Every year you get a couple of people that have a cause that they've been here forever and said, I'm gonna finally do it this time.
Yeah, I see. I mean, again, it's like days like this.
And then I see them at like 3:00 on Monday the 20th at mile 22. Yeah, and you're like, dude,
why?
I told you.
I get the personal challenge thing.
Yeah.
Our friend Copey did that once.
Yeah. See, well, like, why would he ever do that?
Well, because he likes the challenge.
Yeah, that's right.
And he did it, and I think he felt gratified.
Yeah.
But, man, I get that little bit of like, oh, man, if I'd gotten up at 6 a.m., I could have done 8 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
Been done for the day. But I don't know. Anyways, just thought that was interesting. And yesterday, spectacular. Top day of the spring. Hopefully there's more of those to come next week. And, again, I go back to now bringing it back to hockey. It's playoff fever.
Yeah.
And today is a really prime example of games mattering. We're down to the last 3 or 4, well, mostly 3 for most teams around the league. There are 15 games in the NHL today. 15, starting with your Boston Bruins hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning, 12:30 at TD Garden. Game is not on Nesson. It's on ABC. But it's then after that, there are 14 more games, and 14 of the 15 games today have, when I say legit, there's a few that are minor playoff implications, right? It's the old what if this happens, this happens, this happens. But except for one game today, Razor, every game actually touches the playoff race in some way. The only game that doesn't, and yet it still impacts the Boston Bruins, is Florida and Toronto.
There you go.
Okay?
It's actually more important.
In many ways, it is more important.
For those two teams, it's very important.
The reason being, folks, if you're not fully ensconced in the Bruins, is that, Boston holds Toronto's first-round pick in the draft this year as long as it doesn't fall into the top 5, or meaning Toronto doesn't fall to the bottom 5 in the NHL and they get a protected pick. Right now, they're tied for that 6-7 spot. So the Bruins need them to win today. Now, that would be nice. I don't know what Florida would think about that, though. Do we get a 3-point game there, maybe? Anyways, I mean,
Florida's happy to tank.
They are.
They're happy to lose. Like that. That's going to be that could be a 7-6 overtime win, or a 0-0 one.
And there's another, or 0-0. That's right. It could be another huge game. Right at 1:00, right after the Bruins, is Ottawa and the Islanders.
Mm-hmm.
Ottawa's hot, brother. They are.
Oh yeah.
They are hot. Are they really good? Rhetorically asking. I think they're pretty darn good. I do. I think they've had a completely wildly volatile season this year, Razor.
Yep.
From just everything there. From the Tkachuk, or, when I say the Tkachuk brothers, meaning recently the podcast thing with their dad, to Linus Ullmark being out forever, to all that. Are they as good as they're showing? I think so.
Oh, yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. I think Ottawa, I've said it, there isn't going to be a favored team in the first round in the Eastern Conference. No one wants to play the Bruins. No one wants to play Ottawa right now. If you're Buffalo or Carolina, who are the top seeds in the division, you're kind of looking at it saying, we had a great year, we won the division, but we're going to have just as hard of a matchup if we're in first than if we're in second or if we're in third. But there is not one matchup here looking at these standings where you say, that's an easier path. You might say that in the West, with one matchup, but in the East, you're not going to say anything's an easy matchup because Ottawa is going to give somebody a really hard time. I think they're ready for a run.
There could be some fantastic matchups this year. Again, today could really spell it out. Besides the Boston Bruins, hey, you could get Philly and Pitt again. Like, that's fantastic for the league. And
the league could get, I know deep down somewhere the league would love Detroit to jump Ottawa somehow.
Sure.
That if Detroit got in,
absolutely,
then you're really cooking. But if you got the Bruins, Buffalo, and you got Pittsburgh, Philly in the first round, oh mama, NHL is pumped.
And you know what? And I know this is when I say smaller, Montreal, Tampa.
Yeah,
is really good too.
Is.
That's really
Montreal moves the needle.
Montreal
everywhere.
moves the needle.
They're the one
They're
Canadian team that still moves the needle down here.
Got a lot to cover this morning on Saturday Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. 617-779-7937, the number to join in if you'd like to. Obviously, we got some James Hagens talk.
Oh, yeah.
We will get to that. I caught a little bit of on social media, your clip. It was yesterday that you were on with the guys, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Thursday I was here, yeah.
Thursday. Okay,
yeah.
Can't keep track of the days. Heard that.
No, it was yesterday. Yeah, because I worked Thursday. It was yesterday.
Okay.
There you go. Good job.
Razor working the NCAA Frozen Four. That is happening, the championship game this evening. But a lot of Bruins talk, a lot of lineup talk. The week that was, as we like to start here or get to finally, is an 1-2 week for the Bruins since we last sat here. They finished their road trip winless. They do get 2 points, losing in overtime both to Philadelphia and to Carolina. The game against Carolina seems like 2 months ago. The Bruins had 3 full days off, meaning they practiced 1.5 of the 3, but not having to play a game after the Carolina game. But just a quick review. They lose at Tampa last Saturday, game 3-1, a game that they played well through 2 periods.
Yeah.
Played very well. Tampa came back in the third, scored some goals, including an empty netter. They end up winning that game. Then they go to Philly the next day. Less than 24 hours later, they start in an absolute grinder. That game was. They lose 2-1 in overtime. A game where I got more and more impressed as the game went on with 2 things. I actually kind of was impressed with Philadelphia. I really was. I was impressed with, even though it wasn't a fun game to watch, how they played so much more structurally sound, and how the Bruins were able to figure out a way to get a point. I know people did not like the overtime. I didn't like the overtime. I didn't. I didn't like the overtime at all. Bruins made some gaffes, took some penalties, but they still got a point in that game, and Korpisalo was great. And then Carolina, 2 days later, off day Monday, played Tuesday, in a wildly schizophrenic game. Man, there was some good, and man, there was some really bad in that game too. The speed of Carolina is what concerns me, and their shot volume, mentality. They outshot the Bees in that game 41-21. Yet, I will say this. I finally checked, the analytics. The Bruins had as many high-danger chances as Carolina did. But that's Carolina's game, my friend.
That's it. That's their game. But I don't like the way they play defense. They give up a lot, and I think the way the Bruins play defense this year is would allow them to get more opportunities. I think it frees them up in their zone. But they're going to give up a ton of shots if they play Carolina. They're going to. That's just how it is. They're going to have to weather quite a bit of storm. And Carolina's goaltending is really interesting. Kochekov played. Did you see that? Down in the minors.
Played in the American
20
League.
minutes. He played his 20 minutes yesterday. He's kind of on a pitch count. So very curious how hard they push in that respect in goal because it feels like they need him. So
hip surgery, I believe.
And he had hip surgery before the year before he got drafted as well, which was kind of like shady. It was like a low pro hip surgery that no one knew about, and a couple of doctors. That's why he got drafted so late, is because a few of the doctors were like, "Did you have hip surgery?" Like the teams didn't know going into the draft. It was kind of interesting.
Who needs to tell anything? Anyway, anything in Russia,
Exactly.
In case you're wondering who we're talking about, Pyotr Kochekov, or they call him Pete, but Pyotr Kochekov, one of the three goalies that the Carolina Hurricanes have had. They've had him for a couple of years now. He had huge prospect potential, at least. There was a lot of expectations out of him. Mm-hmm. But because they also signed Bussy this year, it was actually for them very fortunate that they did, Brendan Bussy.
No question.
He's been great for them record-wise. I feel like the last couple of games he has been incredibly leaky. Mm-hmm. Do you play him? Do you play Freddie Anderson? Do you play Kochekov? Really not our concern. It's more of a Bruins show, but that's who Razor and I are talking about there. It will be interesting to see if he can elevate his conditioning and his rehab to play. I'm going to guess it would be tough in the first round.
Yes, agree.
But after that. Now, you bring up something, and it's worthy of a quick tangent here. And you know how I feel about analytics. I believe in them in the sense of they're valuable in certain ways, just like goalie analytics, right, and everything, team defense stuff and everything. Mm-hmm. The Bruins are in the bottom 5 or 6 all year long of high danger chances against. Mm-hmm. You say, though, you're comfortable with the way that you said about the way that they played D and everything. Are you? I don't think I'm as sold, my friend, on the Bruins' regular structure back there. They still give up, as far as I'm concerned, too many middle of the ice shots.
I was kind of speaking towards them playing Carolina,
specifically.
Carolina specifically.
Okay.
The way they play now opens them up to giving up some chances, but I think they can get more chances than how they played them before. With the hybrid defense, slowed them a little bit. Now they can man on man, they can go.
Right.
Puck turns over, they're gone, and Carolina can't match that as well.
What about in general, though?
But
is the Bruins team defense stout enough? This is my concern. It's like, I didn't know. None of us thought they'd score like they're scoring this year. And yeah, of course you're going to go through ups and downs, and the power play hasn't been great lately. I mean, but when it's all said and done, now that we're getting close to playoffs, do they have enough structure to that D? And I'm not talking just the D men. Obviously, it's important, but the whole structure. Mm-hmm. Are you good enough with that? I mean, it is what it is right now. You don't want them to play so cautious that they don't get any goals offensively. I kind of feel like they give up more through the neutral zone. They're very passive now coming back through the neutral zone. Very deep. They allow teams to get some speed. And I think that's where they have issues with Carolina. They are so freaking fast. And the Bruins' neutral zone, they can back way up. And I think they allow them to generate a ton of speed using them. And like a team like Ottawa or a team like Montreal that's got a lot of scooters on their team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch Carolina. I really don't watch any of those teams enough of what they do against other teams, right? Like, I'm assuming they have speed against everybody, right? Like, I'm assuming they do that to everybody's neutral zone. I assume Montreal does that to everybody's neutral zone, or Buffalo for that matter. So I'm not sure if that's just like if that's a Bruins thing or if that's more of the other opponent thing. I think about the games this weekend. Like they didn't. Of course, the Carolina game they gave up a lot. They got real leaky in the second period, especially.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonas Corpusalo.
Of course, he made some huge saves, but it wasn't like they weren't 2-on-1s. They weren't a lot of breakaways, things like that. It's still that defensive zone at times. To your point, the neutral zone at times if they sit back, or I think about what game? I don't even remember exactly what game it was where Corrali changes in the neutral zone and then they go. What was that, Carolina, or was that a different?
I think it's a different game.
Yeah, but you know what? That play, that's where the Bruins need to tighten up come playoff time. Like that's a play where they're kind of in good spot, but as soon as that happens, you're donezo. You're donezo, and that gives up opportunities. So, I of course you're going to have to. I think the way the game's played by some of these teams in the Eastern Conference, you're going to give up chances, I guess is what I'm getting at.
All right, we'll get to that more after the break. 617-779-7937. A ton to cover. We'll start previewing the Tampa game today, talk James Hagens, etc. But now it's our guy David Azer. Sorry, David, I'm about 40 seconds late. Back
that was
to you
my fault.
No, it's not. It's not your. It's mine. Are you kidding me? I talk more than anybody. And ramble on. I'm still doing it. It's what's trending now.
Saturday Morning Brew on WEEI is brought to you by Apex Entertainment in Marlboro with 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Now, more of Jaffe and Razor on WEEI.
All right, let's get right to our Apex most entertaining moment of the week, is always brought to you by Apex Entertainment, 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Visit them up, Apex up in Marlboro. And also, speaking of Apex in Marlboro, April 13th, which is this Monday, we got a really cool event. Megan Keller's going to be there with her gold medal, autograph signing. They're hosting an autograph signing. Check out SureShotPromotions.com for more information to go see Megan Keller and the gold medal. That's great. Thank you to Apex. All right. Entertaining. Mine would be, let's see, most entertaining moment of the week. I'll give it to Corpy for coming in against Carolina and kicking, man. He was good there. What else? I mean, Pav scores the game tying goal.
Geeky hat trick.
Geeky hat trick. Okay.
I was thinking Geeky hat trick on my way in today, but Corpy playing the way he did in Philly and in Carolina. He got you 2 huge points.
Oh, we had some multiple entertaining moments there as
go.
well. All right. So, again, thank you to Apex Entertainment for that. 617-779-7937. We're going to talk Hagens, and then we're going to talk Geeky, and then we're going to talk the stretch. Why don't we take a call here? This is going to help lead us into James Hagen conversation. Maria, welcome into Saturday Morning Brew, Jaffe and Razor.
Happy Saturday. I need you gentlemen to help me understand the dynamics of what the Bruins are doing with James Hagens. I heard what Marco Sturm said about not playing him today. He still needs more time to understand the system. Time is running out on the end of the season. Do you guys think it's more of an issue of not wanting the pressure of this young man hitting the TD Garden ice at home as opposed to maybe debuting him on the road? Or I'm trying to wrap my head around what they're doing. And Razor, I have a question for you because I heard you yesterday afternoon and you were asked about, the matchup for the Bruins and what you said about what would be great for the league and entertaining. And I agree with you, either Buffalo or Montreal. Montreal would be awesome for the NHL and the Bruins. But who is a better matchup for the Bruins in terms of the potential of getting out of the first round? Thanks for the time as always, guys.
All right. Thanks, Maria.
Let me just do that first. I think all 3 teams are exactly the same. Montreal, Carolina, and Buffalo are very similar to me. And you've talked about it. They all have speed. They all have
a lot of skill.
They're a lot of skill. That's what makes them difficult. On the flip side, they have deficiencies in Buffalo has never been in the playoffs. None of their guys. Montreal is a little bit smaller. You can push them around possibly, even though they have a few guys that can fight. Beyond that, I think you can get them defensively, and then Carolina, their goaltending. So I think all three of the teams that they're likely to play are good and bad in different ways. Tampa's the one I think you want to stay away from the most.
Probably, even though that could get to be a real bloodbath out there.
Oh,
that would be
of course.
That's not a grind fest. That's a tough fest. And I don't mean bloodbath fighting, although each team would be more than fine to. That would be really physical, nasty. Tampa's got questions, though, too. Will Victor Hedman come back? He's on the IR. He hasn't been in there. Now, they've had some other injuries, too. Be interesting to see, just a tangent for 1 second, who the Bruins see in net today. Both of us agree that there's probably a good chance that Jonas Johansson plays today instead of Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah, I thought that the way the week went, Vazzy played all week, and he doesn't like playing in Boston, and it's an afternoon game, and he can just hang out today.
Yeah.
So I think we see Johansson.
Okay. I agree. I think that happens, too. With regard to matchups, the other thing I would say is not only does Buffalo not have really any playoff experience, I do like how their team is much more how it's constructed. Their goalies have been good. UPL, Pekka Luukkonen, and Alex Line have been good. Line has got, obviously, playoff experience, but that's still a question mark there. But how do they handle the whole playoff thing? We'll see. I know Dobish has been good for Montreal, but that's a huge question.
The Bruins have a huge, massive check mark in all three against those guys in goal.
Yeah.
No question.
Okay. All right, Hagens, plan. You talked about it yesterday here. Meritocracy, excellent word. All of a sudden you're doing the NCAAs on ESPN now, and now you're bringing out the big
Spell
words.
it.
Yeah,
spell it.
Yeah, I mean that was impressive. Listen, what's the plan for James Hagens? And we're going also on what Maria and listeners, what the Bruins are talking about. But to me, it's clear as day. They have a kid who is incredibly. He's respectful, too. He gets this thing. He understands what's going on.
Correct. He's done it perfectly. Everything's worked great for both the player and the team and how everything's handled. It could not have gone better. I'm fascinated with the question. I really am, because I think it's just gone absolutely perfect. Like, what's the plan with Hagens? Well, you're seeing the plan. We just saw the plan's been perfectly executed to this point for the kid and by the kid. I'm impressed by the kid.
I am too. I had a nice chat with him the other day. Know people associated with him, and he's high remarks. Obviously, we've seen him play for 2 years now at Boston College. We both worked those games. To me, so all right. Why doesn't he play today? Let's just do the nuts and bolts. Why? Because the big thing a lot of people are saying out there, Porter Martone came in and played right away for Philadelphia last week, and you know what, Porter. He kicked some ass. He's a big boy. He did well.
Yep.
But different. Okay? Yep. But why doesn't he play today?
Well, the Bruins have an opportunity to clinch in the playoffs. They've had a group of guys that have played in the NHL for 180 days now at this point, where every game mattered. Every game was vital. Every day was crucial to get better, to get into the playoffs. And these guys deserve the opportunity to clinch the playoff. They deserve the ability to get into the playoffs. And really, at the end of the day, when you have a very big unknown, and James Hagens is going to be an awesome Boston Bruin. He's doing all the right things right now. He's really trying to understand how he needs to play away from the puck in the pro game, all of these things. But he's a big unknown to throw into a game that decides the playoffs at this point in the season. You want to make it a less an opportunity, not just for him, but for the team to allow to be able to insulate a mistake or two, or insulate a different kind of player into the lineup where no one's worried about it, no one thinks about it, no one gets twisted off of their mindset. And I think putting him in this point, there'd be guys in the room that would kind of look around and be like, what about everybody else who's been trying to make the playoffs?
A lot of fans might be saying, well, that third line left wing spot, which of course is the obvious spot for him. The other guys, the veterans, nobody's established the job. Nobody has taken it. Nobody being Michael Eyssimont, who we expect in today, Alex Steves, Lucas Reichel, who was just sent down. He could get called back up. It could be a paper type thing too, especially for traveling and stuff coming up. But nobody, while Reichel did well for a couple of games, he's not heavy enough on pucks regularly and needs to work on that still. But yet he showed some good skill and some good ability to push the pace when he was playing with Lindholm and Geeky. Now, Lindholm, Geeky are with David Pastrnak again. So how about the fact that the most likely line would be Hagens, Minton, Husnudinov. Also throw it off a little bit, the timing, because that's a very young line. And while it's enticing, and maybe the better word is intriguing, it's very intriguing to me.
And it could be your line in the future. That could be a line.
The future could be next year.
Correct.
Very soon.
Correct.
But does the fact that that's probably where he has to go impact the decision as well? Because that line, if you're at home, yes, you can control matchup more, but there's still vulnerability with that line.
Yes, of course. That's
defensively.
That's very you're opening yourself up for opportunities there. You just wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't do that if when you have playoffs on the line. Like, this is a massive game today. This is an important game for everybody, and you don't mess around with that in the NHL. You just don't. It's not. Yes, Philadelphia puts in, yes, if you're the Calgary Flames, it doesn't matter. But this is a situation. It matters in a massive way.
If I remember correctly, Hagens will become the 8th player from that draft to play a game in the NHL when he does. Porter was the 7th. The kid Frundell just got called up.
Yep.
Now, here's a kid in Frundell, again, bigger. The size matter? Not always, no, but
played
he's also
pro
played
this year.
pro. That's what
right.
I was going to get. Yeah. He had a lot of time in the Swedish league, in the
Yes.
Swedish Elite League, and he was the number, Frundell was 2 or 3 over?
3.
Yeah, overall.
Yeah.
But
he's on a team that doesn't matter if they lose 7-2 to Carolina. Does not matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So they're like, okay, come in and do it this way, do it that way. So you get this kid who's now in your locker room, who is as humble as could be. You could tell wonderfully raised, by mom and dad, school teachers, fishing boat owners too, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he works on the boat during the offseason. I don't know if he will still after signing the league minimum, which is still a nice chunk of change, $975. I'm kidding. I'm sure he will, actually. He loves doing that on the island. And let me say this. If he doesn't really believe that this is the right thing, Razor, I mean, how he's being treated by the Bruins, because there's a lot of people, if you fall into the abyss of social media or you hear from people like, oh, how can they do this? And, blah, 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 they're not treating him right. He doesn't feel that way.
No.
If by the way, if he does, he's an incredible actor.
Yes.
He is as at least comes off as genuine as anything, and that he can't wait to be part of this. He's with the team now, fully established and practicing with them, bumping up from the American League. And look, by the way, I want to see him as a center sooner than later, his natural position. But left wing is going to be where he slides into this lineup. There's no question about that.
No question. And again, I think if everything goes well today, then you'll see him in the next couple of games, and you'll give him that. You'll throw him the bone, and then it's all good. And you'll see. Hopefully he takes a big step. Hopefully he does something that intrigues you and allows you to maybe throw him in the playoffs at some point. But again, I can promise you, he's very, very, very excited to be at practice this week, going to the Garden today, watching from the 9th floor, getting his workout in the dress. Like, those things are all really exciting for him. He doesn't need to play to feel really good about himself. So, he's in a good spot. He's fine.
A guy who I hope is in a good spot now, too, after scoring a hat trick the other day, is Morgan Geekie. After going, what was it, like 23 games without an even strength goal? It was like 17 or 18 without, his previous goal was March 5th until he scored 3 in the last game at Carolina. He now is 37 on the year. Hopefully 1 or 2. I mean, I'd love to see him clip 40. That would be, 3 in the last 3 games would be outstanding, but I'm not going to get too greedy here. Just the fact that he scored, and he scored with his old running mate, David Pastrnak, back with him and Elias Lindholm. Pretty obvious, right? We're not going to see that broken up. I mean,
No.
it just, by the way, Elias Lindholm played 21:40 last game. Second highest this year. He played a ton last game.
He's been playing a lot of hockey, actually.
A lot.
Like every night. I was looking at that the other day. The time on ice, he's clipped. Like, I know it hasn't got on the board. He hasn't scored as much as you'd like in the, leading up to this week, but he's been playing a lot of big minutes.
Morgan Geekie never scored more than 35 goals in the juniors. He's got 37 now this year.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he gets to 40. What I liked was, the connection with Pastrnak. I love the first goal. It was
awesome.
It was awesome because he gets it in the mid slot and he just absolutely snipes it. It's the release. It's not thinking about it. It's not hoping the puck into the net. It's putting it through the back of the net. Ken Hitchcock would always tell me, I remember talking to him about what young guys, he said, put the puck through the back of the net. That's what I'm telling the young guys. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, it sounds corny. An NHL coach is telling that to NHL players. They still need that mentality. And he did that in that last. Then you get the Pastrnak, that slalom, the edge work that he did. Not 1, not 2, but 3 kind of shimmy shakes to beat the defenseman Chatfield from the left wing side to the front of the net where folks, if you haven't seen the goal, Geeky's second goal, it's all Pastor, but Morgan gets himself interior to the far post. Puck is right on his stick, and he puts that in. And then a gorgeous redirection for the hat-trick goal, too, after McAvoy throws a little pick up top and Zadorov scoots to the middle of the ice. And it's a really good, he earned the middle of the ice tip right there. So 3 goals, 3 different ways. Love the first one, though. I thought it set the tone for the game. And let's say the same thing. I'll say the same thing we said last week. This team will not go far in the playoffs if he doesn't score, Razor. That's it. He has to be involved.
He has to. He's the guy. He's the finisher. And when he finishes, it frees David up to do his thing in a bunch of different ways. It also frees up David you have to pick your poison. If Morgan really gets going, you can move him around the lineup and have him drive a little bit if you need matchups at different times on the road in the playoffs. So he's just so important to freeing up and not have to live on small margins like they did all weekend long or down in Florida. Playing 2-1 games. It's not a coincidence Morgan scores, and it's a 5-goal game.
Yeah. They've been living on margins even longer than that. I know the last weekend especially. Mm-hmm. But those games, man, did they look, again, the Philly game, they were tired.
Oh, my God. 4-6 on the road, back and forth. Like, that was the hardest weekend you could draw up. You couldn't draw it up any more difficult. To be down in Florida, fly back up to Philly for an afternoon, fly back down to Carolina, afternoon games. That was a brutal 4-game stretch for them. Brutal.
I know shots on goal don't always tell the story, and again, volume shooting team in Carolina, but the Bruins had been for a couple of games actually out shooting opponents and doing a pretty good job of controlling the puck a little bit more. Didn't always. I mean, it did mean victories against Dallas and Columbus before that. They did lose to Florida 2-1 to start the road trip, but the last 2 games they've been outshot pretty significantly, especially Carolina, because Rod Brindamore teams have always been established a shot first from angles or from D, and then have the flanks come in and disorient or discombobulate the defense with that way. And
yeah, they're second in the league in shots for, 32.4. So they do it to everybody.
Everybody. And they're number 1 in the league in shots against.
Yes, correct. 23.8.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, look, to their credit, they were on top of the Bruins for the most of that second period. I mean, and the Bruins did not handle that well. Whether that was tiredness and or the synapses, you could tell, weren't firing as quickly. But I'll give Carolina credit. Their forecheck was all over the Boston Bruins for a while. Yeah. Absolutely was. And that's what
they do.
That's what they do. All right. Coming up after the break, we are going to talk today's game. We'll talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, 12:30 game. That's 12:38 face-off today on ABC. 15 games in the National Hockey League today. So we'll look as well at just the other teams around. It's Ottawa, maybe Detroit. We'll talk about that a little bit there. Just, we touched on that in the opening segment. We'll get to that, and then we'll wrap up this Saturday morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. It is a huge Saturday of hockey. The Bruins play today. Then they go right on the road after the game today and they head to Columbus to play tomorrow evening. That game is back on Nesson, so we'll touch on that as well. All right, you're listening to Saturday Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Back after this.
Saturday Morning Brew on WEEI is brought to you by Apex Entertainment in Marlboro. With 100,000 square feet of pure fun, we continue with Saturday Morning Brew, hosted by Billy Jaffe and Andrew Razor Raycroft on WEEI.
All right, last segment, Saturday Brew here, Jaffe and Razor. And then after this weekend, we'll be with you as long as the Bruins are playing. Right, David? You make all the decisions, right? You want to just go? Oh, we'll go all summer. Just tell Thomas and Laird, we'll just go all summer long.
Works for me.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, you heard it, Mike and Ken. We're going all summer here, every Saturday. So this time next week, assuming the Bruins all the Bruins need are 2 points. Win today and you're in. Lose today, win tomorrow, you're in. Last game of the year for the Bruins is Tuesday at home against Jersey. They just need 2 points.
Magic numbers, 2 points.
That's it.
Detroit or Islanders or Philly lose.
Right.
Any of those things happen, you're in.
Okay. Yep. With that said then, that means they could be playing playoff hockey next Saturday.
Yeah, we could be running a pregame skate from here next Saturday.
We could have an afternoon game. There's 4 games slotted next Saturday. 4 games for TV slots.
Yep.
Sunday, 3. So 7 of the 8 series are starting on the weekend. That means 1 series is getting the Monday slot.
And that'll be a West Coast team, my guess.
Central or West. I don't and it also depends on building availability and overall matchup. I cannot imagine, playing the hypothetical game here, that the Bruins would not start Saturday or Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You know Montreal is going to get a Saturday night game with home
Correct.
ice.
Yep.
And so there's going to be a 7 or an 8, probably a 7 o'clock start or 7:30 for Hockey Night in Canada up there. The rest will work around that. Assuming that the Boston Bruins get in, I can't see how they wouldn't be playing Saturday or Sunday. So my point is, we could be, as Razor, you just said, either heading to morning skate or heading to a practice from here next week. Playoffs are beginning. Unbelievable time of year. Obviously, we're biased. We love it. But they've got an opportunity today to put the proverbial playoff position in nail in the coffin. They're playing a team, though, that's lost 3 straight on the road. So the Bruins went on a 4-game roadie and went 0-2-2. Tampa's been on the road. They started in Buffalo. They lost 4-2. Then right to Ottawa, back-to-back, lost 6-2, a game that was closer until the third period. Then it got blown open. Then they were in Montreal in a very scrappy game, a little surprisingly scrappy perhaps. Montreal was ready to say to them, hey, we're here. We're playing. We're not little brother anymore, right? That's what Montreal did in that game. There was a lot of scrappiness to it. And there was 71 minutes in penalties for Tampa, 55 for Montreal. Now, a lot of that was shenanigans at the end. But Montreal ends up winning that game 2-1 on a play. Montreal gave up, or Tampa scored a goal in the last 2 minutes of the game. Darren Radish scored a slap shot. It was like a minute and whatever left. And then like 30 seconds later, Slavkovsky scores a goal after a very bad turnover behind the net. So they didn't even get a point. So they're 0-3. So the Bruins aren't the only team that went on these 4-game roadies and had a hard time. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying it happens.
Correct.
This time of year especially.
Yeah, no, exactly. It really does happen. Don't read into anything what the Bruins did the last 8 games, let's say. The 4 great games against playoff teams prior to losing these games on the road. It's worried like how they are going to look going into the playoffs, or how you say their momentum into the playoffs starts today. They have a pretty good setup for tomorrow because Columbus is in Montreal tonight. Like, they're actually going to be the team sitting, hanging out, having dinner, watching Columbus play tonight with this early game. And with the travel, they're going to be in Columbus early. Columbus is going to be really late because they have to go through Montreal and the customs and everything else. And then to play the afternoon game tomorrow, it actually lines up pretty well for Boston, and then the Tuesday night game. So they've got lots of runway here to tighten their game up.
Tomorrow's game, 6 o'clock start. I thought maybe it's 5 o'clock pregame on Nesson, 6 o'clock game on Nesson. So, yes, so a little bit of, in theory, an advantage for the Boston Bruins to be done and then to get in. Columbus had that run, and then they've gone, they've fallen off. They're at 90 points. I just don't see it happening. The Rick Bowness effect was good for a while.
2-7-1 in
their last 10, yeah. So we mentioned 3 losses for Tampa Bay Lightning. Their lineup has been a little bit all over the place, too, just given that, again, Victor Hedman has been in and out all year. He is still out. He's on IR. No word where he's at. Brandon Hagel, who's a hell of a player, make a great Bruin.
Yeah.
He's not going to, but I'm saying he's that type of guy that make a great Bruin. He's got a lot of 63 in him in his game. You know, he does. He's a lot of Marchand in his game.
Yep.
He's been out, although he has skated the last couple of days. Don't be surprised. I wouldn't surprise me actually, on the one hand, it might surprise me, but I heard, he practiced yesterday, so maybe he's ready to come back, but he had been out for a couple of games. So just something to keep an eye on. The big thing, though, as we said, and if you're just joining in, who's going to play goals? Is it going to be Andrei Vasilevsky? Razor pointed out he played the first 3 games on the roadie. Or is it going to be Jonas Johansson? The big Swedish kid who's been all over the league. He's actually played pretty well for them this year. And as you pointed out earlier in the season, right, he beat the Bruins in that much earlier, in early October.
Yeah, the last time they were here. And Vasi, for whatever reason, doesn't like this building or doesn't usually play well or hasn't played a lot of these games in Boston the last little while. So I would expect to see Johansson. This is a nice one for him. If I was the starting goalie, I'd like to take today off too.
The only team in the league that has more fighting majors than the Boston Bruins is the Tampa Bay Lightning. A lot of those came against the Florida Panthers. There's been some against the Bruins, too, including a goalie fight at the Stadium Series game between Vasilevsky and Swayman. Do I see a rumble today? I don't know if I do see that. Would the Boston Bruins be willing to get something going if they need that energy or something? Yeah, between Kastelik and Janot and maybe Zadorov and whatever, perhaps. That could happen. I'm guessing it's going to be just more physical than it is fights, just the way it works for a 12:30 game. Do we have time for one more call? Do we got time for it, Dave? All right, we'll take it quickly because one more just came in here. Depot from Connecticut, welcome into Saturday Brew with Jaffe and Razor.
Good morning, guys. Quick one. If the Bruins don't get the Toronto pick because they're in the top 5, what pick would they get?
Well, they still keep their pick, obviously, but for the Toronto pick, it moves to, it's actually, isn't it 2 years to 28?
Yes, it goes to 28 because Philly gets their 27 for the Lawton.
For the Lawton deal.
Correct.
So Scott Lawton last year was dealt from Philly to Toronto, and the first-round pick is established for 2027, no matter what.
Correct. So they get that pick.
So the Bruins would have 3 first-round picks then in
28. They get the Florida one, they get the Toronto one, and they get theirs.
Right. So would it be the end of the world? No, because they're moving 1, if not 2 of those picks.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it'd be a little bit of a buzzkill if they didn't get that. You can't control, whether Toronto's tanking or not. You can't control that. That's another team, et cetera. But, boy, would it feel good if the Bruins got the number 6 or 7, and then they had their own probably around 20th to 22nd pick, depending on where they finished. It could be lower than that, actually, depending on what they did.
It's going to be lower because of they're actually, they're still ahead of everybody.
Where are they, number 10 right now in the league?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're ninth.
They're ninth best in the league.
So that means they're 23rd.
And it could be even lower if they go further in the playoffs. That's right. So that's where I'd love that pick to work out this year because
it's really not a first-round pick. You're picking late in the first round. 23rd to 30th is you might get a guy who plays 200 games, maybe.
Well, right, but if you're picking in the top 7.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It would be a good year to get it because you don't have a high pick already.
Exactly.
Last year, it would have been a waste to have 2.
Right.
It's
again, though, they could hypothetically take some of these future firsts, trade them to somebody else, and move up. Mm-hmm. But that's getting a little too far ahead. But Depot, that's the scenario.
That's the scenario.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for today. Razor's running home to get then to Connecticut to talk NCAA championship game, 5 o'clock for you guys on ESPN2 or ESPN?
The big boy, ESPN.
ESPN.
The Ocho.
Denver Wisconsin.
Correct.
All right.
Blue Bloods.
In the championship game, Bruins, 12:30, today's ABC. Tomorrow, 5 pre, 6 game against Columbus on Nesson. Hockey all day today and a ton tomorrow as well. Enjoy it. See if the Bruins can put the playoffs to bed, get themselves in today, take care of business. Thanks for listening to Saturday Brew with Jaffe and Razor.